All right, quick question before the music starts. Did you feel bad for Milli Vanilli when the tape skipped or not? That's what I want to know. Tell me what you guys think. I remember feeling like totally duped and totally grifted, but also being like, man, I feel bad for them. That's horrible, And then dude just got so upset he ran off the stage. That I promise you guys, there's a relevant point here. All right, but in the meantime, let's get the party started. All right, let's get this party started. We'll get people in here as time goes on. Welcome to Inside the Numbers, folks, with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, People's Pundit. Don't forget to like the videos if you like them and to share them far and wide. Look, we're everywhere at People's_Pundit on X and on Instagram. No underscore at People's Pundit on Truth and on Getter, where a bunch of people of you on Getter have opted to start to watch quite a bit, and that's good. I think it's a little bit different today, but bear with us because it's gonna, dramatically change. And you probably hear echoing, and that's because of moving stuff around and stuff being torn down. I like this, and we had plans for it. I think I want brick. I don't know yet. We're gonna see. Not actual brick, like it looks like brick, but you really can't tell until you actually see it. I know, Rich, shut up. Let's get down to business. I hear you. I do. But it's important for me to tell you, as usual, to go and pre-order Burn It Down if you haven't already. The link is in the description. I really can't tell you like how hard it is to sit here and watch this happen when in truth, the entire point of Burn It Down was to give people a warning. And if there wasn't enough time for that warning, to at least start the conversation so people can begin to understand what happened and why they maybe could have made better decisions. And in the future, like the time for you to do this as a trial run, right? Learning on a curve, whatever you want to call it, on the job training, right? Because when you look at the MAGA movement, it's new, it's young. There are a lot of grifters, there just are. But there also were a lot of good-hearted people that were just really, really green and didn't understand several things. One, I mean, politics is complicated. How politics works, right? Everything from how sausage is made in DC to how DC operates. Something as simple as understanding that there is a honeymoon period, or what we like to call peak presidency, because it lasts longer than a honeymoon. And this is the time that you have to really affect your agenda and to put into people's minds what you stand for and who you intend to govern for, what your priorities are, right? And if you're successful, you are successful in conveying to the public that they are your priority. And that even though sometimes you're not always going to get everything you want, because that's not going to happen in DC, you want them to be left with the impression that you care about people like them and that you're doing your best. That has not happened in the Trump administration. And I don't think the president really believes that. I think anyone who knows the president knows that's not true. I think there's a series of very complicated things that happened in the second Trump administration, which followed, of course, his brief I wouldn't call it incarceration, but certainly arrest and threat of incarceration, et cetera, et cetera. And this time he really did go about things differently. He had better control over the government. But there is a bit of an old adage, and I think to some extent, maybe I even overlooked it more than I should have, that if things are going smoothly in DC, it's probably a bad thing. All right. So, this idea that we're going to return to normal, like Biden sold, is a bad sell. It may seem good because Americans get tired of the boat rocking, and we talked about the seasick voter in 2020. That may seem appealing to them, but in truth, it doesn't mean any of their needs will be met. It doesn't mean that any significant change will be implemented. This time around, it wasn't lost on me, but again, I think I overlooked it longer than I should have. That after about 3 to 5 months, the boat stopped rocking, and there was a reason for it. So now here we are. Fast forward. I'm just going to say this. I think at this point, if we're still arguing who was right and who was wrong since last summer, when the lobby really started to make their presence known and push to what eventually became Operation Midnight Hammer, which those of us who have been around and in this business long enough understood that was never the end of the story. That was always going to be the opening act. So if you allowed them to get that strike under the pretext that they really just cared about stopping Iran's nuclear program, you already lost. And you were going to end up, whether it was 3 months down the road, 3 weeks down the road, or 6 months down the road into the new year, which it was, you're going to end up in a regime change war that you are going to lose. And I think I will tell you, because I personally told my own advice was declare victory no matter what, even though even I don't believe it. I'm always going to be real with you guys, but there's the message, and then there's shooting straight here, and I'm shooting straight with you. I even personally said myself, Mr. President, take the W, declare victory, say you won, you achieved your goals, get out. And it's going to take more than that. You're going to need a serious policy push, which was why it was so very disappointing that the housing affordability bill that he worked so hard to get passed. In fact, many of us did, making phone calls that, we thought in any way we could possibly help, including threats. Like, if you don't vote for this bill, I'm going to go after you for 2 weeks straight. Like, this is, but it was very disappointing because here you had a message in the peace deal moment that you could really build on. And the president had a tremendous event at the White House with UFC, definitely hitting his target audience, knowing who his target audience is, knowing who was depressed, knowing who was dejected, knowing who was disaffected, and trying to start something, right? Very real that you could build on to begin to rebuild the coalition and pull these people back. No, I'm a realist, guys, and no one's going to sit here and tell you that you're going to get everybody back, especially not this quick. You're not. It is what it is. It was a massive, massive betrayal, no matter how much anyone tries to spin it. But it's your job right now to say, I heard you. We got distracted. I'm sorry. And we're going to get back to work. Oh, look at here. We're dealing with housing. Look at here. We're going to deal with healthcare. And whatever, whatever the consensus becomes that you're gonna go on. But there's this wing of this party, and I'm prefacing all of this because I am going to give you a sneak peek of the poll, an unweighted sneak peek, which you guys know is not going to be significantly different than what we found. And there is this faction of the coalition that is going to be dead and irrelevant within 5 to 10 years. Actually, 5 to 10 years just based on age. But honestly, the way they're behaving is as much as they're causing a similar effect that we saw with the Palestinian-Israeli sympathy question, Israel-Palestine sympathy question, Middle East situation sympathy question, whatever you want to call it, where the Israelis were clearly on a downward trend, but they had time before Palestine or Palestinians would catch up to them. But because of what they chose to do, the actions that they took, the decisions that they made, they exacerbated and accelerated that trend. And now they're basically political pariahs. And Benjamin Netanyahu is completely toxic. He's lost all friends in DC. Even the president's own pollster is working for Naftali Bennett, not him. And it didn't have to be that way, but it is that way now because people didn't want to listen. Much that kind of same thing that we're seeing happening could happen here with the neocon faction. I don't see any path whatsoever for the neocon coalition because there isn't one. They're coalition parasites. I've said this over and over and over again. They're not even big enough to consider themselves a faction or a wing. They're too small. So that makes them more like parasites. They're parasitic organisms that like latch on to the coalition that they want to latch on to, bleed it dry, suck it of its vitamins and minerals and all the resources and strength that it has in its body, right? The body politique in this case. And then they kill it and they don't care and they'll move on. And that's what neocons have been doing for decades. This could have been a fight that drug on, I think, longer. This may be the silver lining, is where I'm getting to this. This could have been a fight that continued to drag on, despite the fact that I've been polling the MAGA coalition better than anybody else in the country for a decade plus. And they've been resisting this entire time. For a while, they resisted and it was outward and it was open. This time, they tried something different. This time, they tried to do what the Rhino faction of the Republican Party did to the Tea Party eventually, which is to run people like Adam Kinzinger and tell you that they're Tea Party, right? And at the end of the day, they were full of crap and they weren't Tea Party and they co-opted the movement. That's what they did to MAGA this time. Unfortunately, they killed the MAGA brand. I can show you this. There is, of course, still a large chunk of people who call themselves MAGA. I know that's associated with Donald Trump. The fact of the matter is, after Donald Trump's presidency, MAGA will not be a thing. It'll be replaced by America First or something else, but MAGA will have this taint associated with it. It'll have this stink. I don't know how, there's no delicate way to put this. It'll have the stink of Mark Levin. It'll have the stink of Benjamin Netanyahu. It'll have the stink of Ben Shapiro. And frankly, it'll have the stink of the part of the Trump administration when Trump allowed himself to ignore his own instincts and do something so detrimental not even I thought he would ever do it. Now, I swear there's a reason why I'm doing this. They've accelerated this now. I don't see a real fight in 28. Folks, what I see on social media doesn't at all. I can't say that out loud, but that's effing hilarious, Madam Producer. Okay. That's so good. I wish I could say that out loud, but they will call me all sorts of names if I say that. But like in private company, of course, that would be a hilarious joke. Sorry, guys. She distracted me. But, what I see on, social media with this faction, this parasitic organism, is not reality. It's not in the numbers. And I've started finally to convince other people who are fair-minded, honest brokers. I can see them change their posture already, where they realize, I think the People's Pundit is right. This is a matter of simple arithmetic. Why are we killing our coalition, which is the only growing part of our coalition? It's the only part that has a future, that has to, even because they stopped adding to their ranks now, but they had the potential and still do have the potential to add young people, non-white people, even, of course, other white people, right? I mean, of course, I'm saying it's a broader, younger coalition which can endure, all right? Neocons don't have that. There's no adding to their ranks, despite the fact that they have all the money. And that is really what you're hearing, a very loud, parasitic part of the body politique that buys off a lot of very dishonest people, social media influencers, whatever, podcasters, really bad choices by the president to have around him, voices around him. They spread their money around, and it sounds like because they're very loud, it sounds like they are many, but the truth is they are not. And they are few, and they are dying. And there's nothing left for them here. There's no incentive for the modern Republican Party to even continue to pay lip service to them. Like, this is where we are now, guys. If we were back in 2016, I would say, gotta be careful. It's like 25, 35% of the Republican Party. You better be careful. When we are talking to Republicans now and they say that they're traditional Republicans, or they would consider themselves non-America First, non-MAGA Republicans, it's not the same group of people that it would have been 10 years ago. Filled with these like George Will, Ben Shapiro types. That's not what it is anymore. By the time we got to 2020, that percentage was already cut in half, if not more. And now we're really sitting, when we drill into people and ask them, wait a minute, did you say that you even supported this conflict because you thought this was good policy, or because Donald Trump did it? When you peel that out, guys, you're really looking at like 6%. It's pathetically small. It may actually even be more. So when you're trying to isolate how many people, what percentage of the electorate really agrees with Mark Levin, it's nothing. And the fact of the matter is, here's the crucial part. Every month that goes by, it shrinks. And holding on to that, trying to placate them and trying to pay lip service to them, is costing you far, far more. Simply put, the benefits of keeping neocons in your coalition, like actively keeping them in your coalition, is far outweighed. Are so little compared to the benefits of not doing that. All right. So you're literally kicking out 4 people to keep 1. And as time goes on, and again, pre-order, burn it down. As time goes on, that number will continue to grow. That scale will continue to widen. And you'll find yourself unable to even convince the other 4, 5, 6 people that they should even look at you anymore, because you took too long to get rid of that one. And I'm not saying go out there, if you're running for president, if you're JD Vance and you want to run in 28, I'm not saying to the vice president, JD, go out there and say you're not welcome in the party anymore. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is, if they don't like what you have to say about Israel, tough shit. Go vote Democratic. Because here's a dirty little secret that so many people don't want you to know. They have been. Many of them have been, or not voting at all. Guys, really search inside yourselves for a second. If you're watching this show, you are very interested in politics. Do you really believe any of those people when they told you that somehow they live in the political world day in and day out? The election is like the Super Bowl for them in their life. Did you really believe them when they told you, I don't support Donald Trump, but I can't vote for a Democrat, so I'm not going to vote? Do you really believe that? Because I can look some of them up right now if I didn't want to get sued. I've done it. And call bull. I can name at least 2 people right now who openly said, I don't support Donald Trump, but I can't vote Democratic, so I'm just not going to vote. And they were lying to you, because I can see their vote history. And it's like, to make a claim like that, not knowing that somebody like me could look inside the voter file and say, you're a liar. Me and 6 other people, if you who are willing to do it, to make a claim like that tells me and should tell you, they really think you're stupid. They just don't care. That's what a parasite is, right? It's going to get what it wants out of you, and then it's going to move on to the next host, because that's what it is. I can't even call this a symbiotic relationship. It's not like a remora on a shark. That's not even what neocons are, because the remora provides a benefit for the shark. The remora gets a ride, man, gets to save energy, and the shark gets cleaned. The Republican Party is getting nothing but drained and used up like a $5 whore from Bangkok by having neocons in their coalition. That's it. It's time to just cut them loose. And why am I being so forceful now? Because when we first started, after the peace deal was announced, when we first started polling the peace deal, and I'm going to show you in a second, it started around like 80% support almost, and only like 20% opposed. It was, I'm going rough here. Maybe it was like 77 to like 19. I think that's what it was the day I could look it up right now. The day that gave it first, I don't even think they'd care. The first day I passed it over to somebody in the administration and was like, this thing is popular, ignore them, move on. It was 68-17. All right. And then it grew as the vice president was selling it. And then it grew to close to like 80-20. And then the neocons come out with their money. And look at how many of them right now. Where are they? Where is Mark Levin right now? Anybody? And who paid for them to go? I mean, it's a family visit. Where are you right now? You're in a foreign country trying to sabotage the president, speaking out against his agenda, derailing his domestic agenda. And by the way, here's the kicker here, because why I'm being so forceful today. This polling that we've been doing for like the last almost 2 weeks now shows us that there's some good news in here for the Republican Party. But now, because of the hole that they have dug themselves in, their fate in November is tied to whether there'll be a lasting peace with Iran. This is a horrible situation. It's do or die for the president and his party now. This is what getting in bed with neocons led them to. This is like you get in the mud with pigs, you know? What's the expression? Yeah, I mean, you roll around in the mud with pigs, you wake up, you get up dirty, or whatever the hell the expression is. This is the situation we find ourselves in now. So like, that's the situation. And we have so-called right-wing people in foreign nations sabotaging the president, trashing the president, which by extension is hurting his party's ability to win in November. And they're all doing it on behalf and for a foreign nation. What does that make you, folks? Does that make you an American? Tell me. Does that make you somebody who cares about the survival of the republic? A constitutionalist? Makes you a foreign agent. You should be registered as a foreign agent because you are clearly doing the bidding of a foreign country. It sounds to me like if Democrats take over and go gangbuster on all of us, it sounds to me like they have a place to run, don't they? Although I don't know if how that's going to work out if their buddy Bibi is defeated in the fall too. Because Bibi tied his electoral future to his freedom, which, as we saw throughout this war, is an obvious reason why he's made one stupid decision after another, which is not in the interest of Israel. And if you cared about Israel, you would have objected to it, because now here we are. And this is what they didn't seem to understand, that, you know, the panicans who were right. I mean, let's just call it what it is now. I mean, like I said, I told them myself to take the W, declare victory, gaslight, get out, and pivot back, sister soldier it, and get back to dealing with the American public's agenda. And the reason why I thought that was still the right thing to do, before I say that, is because Democrats really aren't offering anything. You don't have to necessarily in a midterm. You just have to be an alternative, a challenger, a vehicle by which you can punish the incumbent party for your disfavor, for them falling out of favor with you. And that historically is what's happened. But it does at least give us an opening that Democrats haven't really been providing a vision at all. So even with me saying that, again, there's messaging that I think can work and should be. But on the show here, I'm going to be real with you. What those Israel firsters never understood is that the American public was never going to support their true objectives. And that is what happened here. They lied about their true objectives in this conflict. Had they been open with the president, open with the American people, it could have saved us all this trouble. And at that time, when you were honest and upfront, we could have had the debate about whether or not the American public was ever going to tolerate what you wanted done to the Iranian regime. So what we all saw that you all didn't, because you're stupid and you're fanatics, you're supremacists, and many of you are clearly religious fanatics. What we saw that you didn't was that this was always going to end this way. In a strategic loss for the United States, a strategic loss for Israel, the end of the security agreement as we know it in the Middle East, which means the end of the unipolar system, with one superpower being the predominant power of influence in each sphere of influence around the world. That's over now. They called our bluff. The security agreement as it has existed for decades now is done. It's shattered forever. The Middle East will now phase into what is a multipolar system with multiple great power states having the lion's share of influence in the region. By the way, Israel, you will not be one of them. You are really in a lot of trouble now. You will be a very typical encircled nation, just like Germany was before World War I and World War II. An aspiring superpower that's aggressive, that attacks its neighbors, trying to push out its border. And that's what's going on here now with what today, because I'm looking at this polling and I'm looking at the actions of Israel and then what the Trump administration is doing in response to them. And for just to quickly recap, I'm telling you the fate of the GOP in November is tied to this peace deal. If they don't maintain this peace, it's not going to be good. And Israel is out there. I mean, Netanyahu himself said today, we're not giving up the territories we've taken. That is why you hear this BS about Hezbollah. That's why we're attacking southern Lebanon still. It's Hezbollah. No, you're being attacked because you're occupying a country. You're being attacked because they don't want to end up like Gaza. And Netanyahu can't afford to have this lasting peace, guys. He can't afford it. So it's like all eyes on Donald Trump, and what's he going to do? Well, in response to the attack in Lebanon, Iran sends a drone into a ship. Now Trump starts lobbing bombs into Iran again. Not the right call. So it's time to really discuss how bad this could be for Republicans if they don't stand up to Israel and put an end to this war. Because this peace deal is extremely possible. Extremely popular. Even with, so the president goes out, the vice president, he took the center stage here. He goes out, and what did I say it was? Just because 63-17, right? He goes out and he starts selling it. And it starts to rise. Disapproval really hung around there for a while, but it starts to rise. And it gets ridiculous margins. Then the foreign agents come out. Then the foreign influence campaigns come out. Then the pushback comes hard, and it loses a little support. But nothing of significance, because overall Americans still want to end the war. And I'll show you where we were the last 2 days. Hold on, let me just make sure. I just want to make sure I don't show you the whole spiel, because that's another. Yeah, I can't be doing that. That's another thing. All right, so there is actually some new responses tonight. Well, since I did my opening lore, there's been a couple. Nice. Yeah, we're getting to the end. I think I'm going to call it soon, but we're not there yet. So let's first do. Now, remember, this is going to be on. It is not weighted. It is fairly representative, but there's weighting that has to be done. It won't dramatically change, however, what you're going to say. All right. So here is, and let's do that first. Let's do all people first. Then we'll narrow it down to registered voters. Then we'll narrow it down to likely voters. And you will see where this peace deal stands. So even with all adults, which is crazy, we're getting now to a point again, which is unfortunate. We're getting to a point now where the adult sample is more Democratic than the registered voter sample, and is more Democratic than the likely voter sample. You may think that's a good thing in an election, in a midterm cycle, but it's not. Democrats have reclaimed the advantage with the unlikely voter pool as well. That was something Trump dominated going into 24. It was a huge deal. We made a huge deal out of it at the time because it was evidence that too big to rig could happen, was real, could work. And also, if you go back and you look at other recent presidential elections, USA Today, they do the unlikely voter poll. We had our own way of doing it. Many people, I think Gallup and Pew did it too at one point. But the presidential candidate who was leading among the greater electorate had much bigger advantage. And if they had the ground game and the ability to reach out to those voters, not only could and did they go on to win their elections, they went on to win them pretty handily. And examples of that, of course, was Trump in 24. That election was not close, really. And the election, of course, in 2020, Biden slightly won them. Obama in 08, he was overwhelmingly winning them. In 2012, when the polls suggested, even Gallup at Romney +1 as its final, when the poll suggested that it could be a close election, the underlying numbers suggested that Barack Obama had a much bigger cushion. And if he could get out his electorate, which he did, then not only would he beat Mitt Romney, but he'd beat him pretty early in the night. And that is what happened. So it does matter. And because of the realignment, which means, the older voters getting more Democratic, more educated voters getting more Democratic, white voters getting more Democratic because of education, it's easier for Democrats to have a foundational base in a midterm cycle, which is how they one of the three major reasons they overperformed in 2022. For Republicans to counter this, they had to first understand and recognize what the realignment meant for them, and they had to change a midterm electorate. Historically, everyone in modern history looks, it's like, that doesn't happen. They just don't vote. That's a modern phenomena too. It's about as modern as the modern phenomena of the incumbent party always losing just because they're the incumbent party. That is not true. That has been true since 1994. And before that, we had decades and decades of almost completely uninterrupted one-party rule. So it's a total myth. It's an excuse that we tell ourselves because it's easy. And it's the result of interests, whether we're talking about rent seekers that are domestic in domestic lobbies, or in this case, foreign lobbies, like the Israel lobby. They capture our system. It derails the governing party's agenda, and the people punish them for not delivering. There's been a tipping point in the 90s, roughly. And Newt Gingrich, thank you for making the ad hoc system, because you made it a lot easier for rent seekers to write their legislation. So congratulations. And then Nancy Pelosi, when she would take that gavel, she would take it and she'd ram it right up your fat Georgian butt. And she got way more done than you ever could dream of, because she saw the authoritarianism in your system, and she did it better than you. Making the lobby even richer and more effective in DC at getting the agenda that they wanted to get. All right. So without further ado, let's bring this in. Overall, let me just make sure I'm right here. Actually, real quick, let me make myself bigger just so I can go and look at it real quick before anybody else sees anything really. Yeah, okay. 25, 26, right, Laura? Yeah, that's right. That's the disclosure stuff. You guys are going to love this stuff. Oh my God, it's so good. All right. So immediately you can see 32% strongly support the peace deal. Let me also, just so nobody accuses me of anything silly, let me read you the prompt for it, because I think we were very, very favorable. You can't see the prompt in this. I don't know why, but next, we'd like to ask a few questions about the Iran war. The administration announced a peace deal to end the war with Iran. The memorandum of understanding signed by the president reopened the Strait of Hormuz without tolls, began a 60-day negotiation period on the regime's nuclear program, and sanctions relief for the regime, and states Iran, quote, shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons. So there are quotes in the prompts and everything to let people know that this is literally from the MOU, but here are the bullet points, explicitly stating, by the way, that it does leave the door open for sanction relief for the regime. All right, somewhat support is another almost 30%, 28.2. So altogether among the entire electorate, all adults, 60%, and only about 22.3% oppose it. Actually, make it bigger. Is it 22.3? 23.1. Now, if we add, let's just start to do some basic screeners, okay? Let's do some basic screeners here. Bear with me. All right. And because I'm not going to do this all, but let's go to registered voters too. And I make sure I put that in the thing. Whoa. Don't get to see stuff too early. If I scroll too fast, they'll never be able to see it anyway. It's all right. That's okay. Here we are. All right. Do you support or oppose the peace deal to end the Iran war? You can see it going up. Do you see what I'm talking about here? You see where this is going? 33%, now 32.6, 29.2. By the end of it, you're going to get to about 65%. Just to give everybody spoiler alert. You're going to get to about 65% support. And again, it's unweighted, but the more likely the voter, the more robust the vote history, the higher support for the peace deal rises. Don't you think that's pretty relevant information a couple of months here? We're getting a couple of months here before the election, guys. We're not sitting out 6, 7, 8 months anymore. It's basically around the corner. It'll be much, much more difficult to advance anything in the domestic agenda. The housing affordability bill was an incredible achievement, honestly. Very disappointing that Trump canceled the ceremony for it, because that's what administrations and parties use to start the messaging process. You want to do that for FISA? Sure, since you did a promise to obliterate the deep state. If you want to say, I will not sign FISA until you do the SAVE Act, get it done, get it passed, send it to my desk. That, number one, is going to have a much more, it'll have a more favorable impact on what you're trying to do, because you're over here trying to obviously tell lawmakers they can't have something they want until you give them what you're demanding. Well, FISA is their golden goose, guys. They all, without any kind of reforms, they all argue from the left to the right, and if FISA has to be reauthorized, that would have been a better pressure point. Instead, you said, I'm not going to hold the press conference for one of the most popular bills I passed my entire administration. And it's just, somebody's got to have a very real conversation with the president about what is popular and what is not in this country. Or honestly, what is effective anymore. I'm not even clear. I'm not even sure that the White House is clear about what is effective anymore. It doesn't make any sense to me. You want people to know that you're working on making housing affordable. You do not want people to know that you're reauthorizing FISA without any reforms whatsoever and a clean reauth. Rudimentary shit here, guys. All right. So the more we go, the more the higher support for the peace deal is. I think that I feel like I need to show you the generic ballot. I really do. I feel like I need to show you the generic ballot. And I'm going to wind up. Okay. All right. So among all adults, you can see here, the generic ballot is D+10. I'm not all adults. It's among all registered voters. The generic ballot is still D+10. Now, that is a closing of a couple of points. And when we weight it, we'll see if that continues to be the case. Again, the more likely you get, it really does depend. With all certain voters, it seems like Democrats, they have a big lead on certain to vote. But it's better than the D+13 that it was last month. So there's been some tightening, and I told you guys that was the case, that there's been tightening, but it's nowhere near where it needs to be. And it's very clear. I don't want to show you guys all the questions yet, but it's very clear why that is. Some voters are waiting to see whether or not the administration will do what is necessary to make this a lasting peace. They're not yet willing to say, okay, you ended the war, all is forgiven, and we're going to give you our support, those bad Democrats, let's move on together. That is not in the cards yet for you. They're waiting to see whether you, not for nothing, but you've screwed them over more than one time, on more than a half a dozen occasions. There's been a point where voters said, okay, he's going to pivot back to the domestic now. He's going to tell Netanyahu in the lobby to get lost. He's going to tell this one talking about this foreign country to get lost. And he's going to tell Marco Rubio, get lost. We're not taking Cuba right now, dude. All right, calm down. We have to deal with affordability on some. He's done this before, only to get distracted and derailed again. And it's basically, what's that expression? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, they're at fool me like 6 times already. So they're just not going to do this. They're not going to play this game anymore. They're going to wait and see, because many of them are telling us they don't think that it's likely. They don't think that Trump will follow through and excoriate. Every time, the Israelis restart the war in Lebanon, they don't think that they're going to be able to keep them under wraps or disconnect from them so dramatically that it really doesn't matter. And Trump is basically telling them, you know what now, BB, you're on your own. I have to deal with what's best for my country. So they don't know. And they're reserving judgment and they're waiting. It's improved, but it hasn't improved as much as it can. And the reason for that is there are multiple reasons. One is Republican identification is still low. There's still a bunch of independents who were saying, yeah, I'm previous MAGA, and I think I'm sitting this out. That's a problem. The second part is that there's still a lot of them choosing someone else as like a protest vote, and we know they're not going to do that. Or at least, Jesus, we hope they're not with numbers like that. Typically, as we get closer to the election, that'll fall. Someone else will fall, and we'll start to get the real two-party vote share. But right now, we're not there. And independents went back. I mean, it's not as bad as it was last month. It's still a bloodbath. And for those out there who are saying, oh, Rich, that's still too much. Look at the generic ballots tightening on our on RCP. Let me just tell you, they're wrong. I hate to tell you, but Marquette was never right. With the poll they just released again, it was the Democrats plus 7 or 8 or 9 or something. Just 2 weeks before, it was Democrat plus 1. When we were Democrat plus 13. Guys, it was never Democrat plus 1. You're being gaslit. The president's own pollster has them down in Ohio from top to bottom. From the governor, Senate, on down. Generic ballot losing the statewide ballot in Ohio. Ditto Iowa, where they're all down. Randy Finstra lost, but still, it was always going to be tough for Zach to win this election in this environment. He was the better candidate because Finstra he was depressing. Again, conventional wisdom that somehow Randy Finstra was the better candidate than Zach, right? Or John Cornyn in Texas. By the way, there is a good ray of hope here. Paxton does have a little lead, looks like 2 points, entirely due to the fact that he's the nominee and more people are going to come out and vote because he's the nominee. Had that been John Cornyn, they'd have been cooked. Tallarico would have won that race, and honestly, we wouldn't even be debating it right now. So even though Paxton had baggage, his baggage was less damaging than the percentage of people who were not showing up if John Cornyn was the nominee. Conventional wisdom. They're always wrong with Republicans because they don't understand them and they don't understand what motivates them or what pisses them off or what's unacceptable to them. So with leaners, you're looking at leaners. They're roughly even. They're not really. Democrats are winning leaners. So it'll be closer, but it's not going to be anywhere where it needs to be. What is interesting, and let me see if I can zoom up here. I can. Sweet. What is interesting, guys, is one, right track, wrong track. There's a couple of, regardless of when we waited or not, there are a couple of tracking indicators that we do every month. They're in the benchmark every month. They're in the poll every day, most of them. I think almost all of them are in the poll every day. But direction of country, right track, wrong track, that's improving. A lot just seem to improve given the peace deal. And it can improve. Like, I see an opportunity for it to improve so much more. It's just that people are so skeptical right now, they're waiting. Now, the biggest improvement came in Trump's approval numbers. all right, which is very good for the White House and very good for the president. It's not trickling down to Republicans yet. I don't want to blow him up, but I was talking to this guy from a well-known website that deals with polls. And he's like, every one of these polls that are on this site that shows Republicans with a higher vote share than Trump's approval is bullshit. Every single one of them, they're bullshit. Everyone knows that Trump is, no matter how pissed off people may be with him, he's still more popular than Republicans. So there's just no way. There's just no way that these polls can be right, where they have his approval at like 36 or 38, yet Republicans are at like 45, 46, and it's like D plus 3. He's right. That's bullshit. That's not real. The president's approval rating does impact the generic ballot, but the fact that Republicans are going to have to wrestle with is that voters' willingness to forgive Donald Trump is not the same as voters' willingness to support you in November. So no matter how pissed voters may be at Donald Trump, they will still always like him more than they like you, Republicans. Just a fact. Mike Johnson, your numbers are ass. They're horrible. I thought Kevin McCarthy had pathetic numbers for a Speaker of a House. They're terrible. Hakeem Jeffries, so many people don't even know who he is. He's still doing better than you. It's just pathetic. This is a radical party, which we can look at too. Democratic identification. I got to show you this because there's a lot of talk after last Tuesday's primaries in New York. Mamdani went like 3-0. His endorsements, the Democratic Socialists of America, they won everything. The AIPAC candidates went down. The pro-Israel candidates went down in a blaze of glory. Hey, Laura, look, as it turns out, if you don't have $30+ million to drop on every single congressional race, AIPAC and Israel aren't going to win. What a shocker, right? I told you that's unsustainable. You can't throw $30 million at every single candidate you don't like. They didn't win. They're not the top of the heap. They're toxic. It's why they never run an ad. And at the end of the ad, it says this message was paid for by AIPAC. They always funnel it through third-party groups because they know the minute people hear AIPAC, they're like, bleh!
It's like a please don't go.
Yep.
Do not pass.
Yeah.
Do not collect $200.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Straight to jail.
It's true, though. They're totally toxic. Israel's toxic. If you don't have an obscene amount of money to throw in every congressional race, you're going down. And they made, particularly about Goldman's race, I'm watching, and we didn't get a chance to address this on the show. So before I bring this up, I do want to address this before I pop those numbers up. Immediately, including Republicans, and I like Elise Stefanik. I do. I like her. But immediately, Republicans like her and just about everyone else made it about Israel and the Jews. Israel and the Jews. That's all you heard. Goldman, a Jewish incumbent who is backed by AIPAC and gives his unquestioned, uncritical support to Israel, lost to a challenger who was also Jewish, who isn't backed by AIPAC and doesn't give his uncritical support to Israel. How could this be about anti-Semitism and anti-Jew hatred or whatever Mark said? How is that possible if they replaced a Jewish incumbent with a Jewish challenger? You're talking about missing the forest through the trees. And Republicans, you're not helping yourselves at all. Diving on this, you need to come over to our side because Democrats are a bunch of Jew haters now. First of all, you don't want the people that pitch will even work on. Those are the same. What, you want more Bill Ackmans? You like the right wing needs more Bill Ackmans? The same people. And this is a kicker that pisses me off about these people. All right. These same people funded the third world immigration and invasion. They supported every open border policy. They donate to both parties. They're the ones who turned your country. They're the ones who turned communities like Springfield, Ohio, in Clark County, Ohio, into third world shitholes. They're the ones who did it. And then they use those people to make you hate someone else, to make you hate another. Why? Because they don't want you looking at who really caused the problem. They don't want you being pissed at the real source of the problem. Them. They did this to you. It's also why you didn't get your investigations into the protesters who were doing with Minnesota and elsewhere with ICE. Because unfortunately, you're going to find a bunch of right-wing bullshit donors. They're not right-wing. You're welcome. I'm trying. They're not right-wing. They're whatever's good for me wing. We're supposed to hate other people who they say are a threat to us, when those people, in truth, just took advantage of the exploits that they provided. And if you were in some third world Latin American dump country too, and the opportunity was there for you, you would take it too. I'm not saying it's right, but you would take it too. If Hillary Clinton came to your country after a hurricane or after a earthquake and money laundered a bunch of money that was supposed to go toward your charity, the minute they allowed you to get TPS, you'd have taken it. And you'd be in an adjacent community to Springfield right now as well. Now, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying these people are powerless. They're not the ones who have the power. They're just taking advantage. They're being used by other powerful people. They're their shields. They're using them as their shields because you're supposed to hate them. Instead of, they want you distracted, man. I don't know what to tell you, folks. They want you distracted. Now, Rich, you're telling me the communists are not a real problem? Who let the communists in? Who did that? Bill Ackman did that. Zohran Mamdani didn't break into the country. He took advantage of programs that were put in place by the politicians who are funded by people like Bill Ackman. Now you want more Bill Ackmans in the GOP? Have you learned nothing? Are you retarded? And for what? To take in somebody who represents 26% of like 2.25% of the electorate? And then you'll have to pander to them and chase away 15%. Maybe 20. Maybe you'll end up like Bob Dole. It's the stupidity is just the level of stupidity is just it's unbelievable to me. We're at a point where I really can't afford to tolerate it anymore. I can't afford to try to nicely explain numbers to people. Like, we're beyond that. It's not even difficult. It's simple. Yeah, the numbers and that was years ago. And we did it. I did it. I sat in front of everyone's camera and I tried to nicely explain this to everyone. Well, now it's too late. You either followed along because you were smart enough or you're retarded and I can't afford to hold your hand anymore. If you don't know by now that the Ackmans and the Levins and if you don't know by now that they are a bigger immediate threat to the survival of your political party and your way of life, if you don't know that by now, then I can't help you. I just can't. You should, it's simple. It's not difficult. All right, moving on. Again, one of the biggest things is stunners that you're going to get out of Burn It Down is you're going to see how many voters are truly out there who will back someone like Donald Trump and 6 months later vote for somebody like Zohran Mamdani. You'll be stunned. You think New York City is a one-off, that it's some kind of, no, it's just the tip. It's just the leading leader of the trend that's headed your way. We can't, it was simple when I wrote it. I said, MAGA or Mamdani, you don't have another choice. You don't have a third door, okay? There isn't a C, all the above, or a D, neither. It was cute while I wrote it. Now we need to come up with something else because MAGA is going to have to be replaced with something different. But you get the point. Or maybe you don't. And you're slow, like one of those people who really thought John Husted was going to be a good candidate in Ohio or something because you didn't think populism was that important. What's the Epstein class? I don't even know what that means. Well, okay, congratulations. You're stupid. You're like 15% of the electorate, and the rest of the country understands exactly what I mean. I'm just losing patience for the I'm just losing patience for the people who can't seem to keep up, like, because they're doing such damage. They're doing terrible, terrible damage.
I'm losing patience for the ones that just don't do it because they want money.
And some of them are just dishonest. You're right. Some of them, yeah. I mean, some of them are just dishonest. Others aren't loyal to the country. Like, has this whole endeavor not made it very clear that we have a lot of people who don't even have a dual loyalty? They don't have loyalty to this country at all.
There's no such thing.
You can't have that anyway. It was always a ridiculous thing, right? You have to have you're loyal to one or the other. Like, that's it. And to sit here and still pretend like we're debating about whether or not something's good policy or not, or we're having an honest conversation about what, the better objectives should have been in Iran. And it's like, this is all a lie. What are we doing? We're chasing away the next 10 years of dominant we're chasing away all of the voters who could provide us with the next 10 years of electoral success. All to what? Pay lip service to a dying faction that has all the money? Go find an alternate source of money. I don't know what to tell you. And here's the kicker anyway, folks. Go vote Democrat then. You don't have to. This is what I'm saying. Again, like, I would never tell like someone like JD, like, go out and say you're not welcome here anymore, John Podhoretz. You don't have to do that. Knock yourself out. You don't like it? The alternative is those communists that you told us we were supposed to be so afraid of. Over 60% this month. Over 60% Democrats. Outwardly socialists, or call themselves, well, I'm really a democratic socialist. No, you're a fanatic. You're a fanatic left-winger. There's no such thing as traditional liberal anymore. And if we're supposed to be so afraid of them, then tell me, why are we always sacrificing our electoral viability for another country? We're supposed to be afraid of the communists. Be afraid. Then start acting like it. All right, here's right track, wrong track, like I said before. This is now more likely. We're tightening the screen a little bit here. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to show you Trump's approval. All right, let's change the layout options real quick just so you can see it the way you would normally and are accustomed to seeing it. Okay. Look at Trump's approval. Is it good? No. But guys, he hasn't been able to get above 42% in like 3 months in our polling. How long has it been since he's hit this number? Is it fantastic? No, but I'll take 44%. 44% is a hell of a lot closer to the mid to high 40s than 39% was like last month. This is big. He was hitting a resistance at 42% for a long time, the entire period of the war. And his disapproval was getting absolutely disgusting to the point where you start to get to like 6 in 10. Now, this number still very much concerns me. I don't know what it'll be after waiting, but if it's 43% strongly disapprove in the raw, that's not good. That's really problematic. But I will say this. For the last 2-3 months, the percentage of people who said that they strongly disapproved of the job that Donald Trump was doing was more than the percentage who approved combined strongly and somewhat. So this would be the first month in like 3 months, maybe more. I'd have to go back and look where that's not the case. And that's heading in the right direction. Okay. You can see undecideds now back down to like 2.3. So he improved while undecideds actually shrunk. And together, you're going to look at what, 53, 54% disapproval when all said and done, something like that. That is, I don't want to say doable, but it's back within historic norms for a two-term president. If he can get in the mid 40s for a two-term president, that's not terrible at all. I mean, now you're going to want to rise before the midterms. Typically, the incumbent president does get a little bit of a surge in approval rating before the midterms. Happened to Trump in 2018. I remember that. Happened in our polling. Happened to Barack Obama. I remember that. And I remember thinking, oh boy, are they going to blow this thing? But they didn't. Honestly, they just, Obama just couldn't get out his coalition. It was a little bit different. But for Trump and Republicans to get out the voters that they'll need to get out to make sure they don't get wiped off the map, he can't be at 40%, guys. It's not good enough. Honestly, I'd like to see him between like 47, maybe even 49. It is doable. Don't let them tell you it's not. You don't have to just accept defeat. Why? Because the Israel lobby told you that you were going to lose anyway, so you might as well start a stupid war and help a country that doesn't give two rat's shits about you? Don't buy that for a second. That is not true. Nothing is inevitable. They only tricked you into believing that because they want you to be okay with failure. They want you to be okay with, okay with being controlled, to being managed.
If there's no hope.
And if there's no hope, they can do whatever the hell they want. They traffic in that. That's their currency.
They want to strip you of free will.
Well, or just give up. Just give up. They just want you to give up.
That's giving up.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's the same thing. Actually, you're right. That's true. It's the same thing. So yeah, and you'll see, I don't want to get too much into it, but you'll see, even on like the economy, he has markedly improved. Guys, he didn't do anything. They're not happier with him this month because he suddenly started focusing on the economy. He hasn't done shit. They passed a housing affordability bill. This is because he finally course corrected on a stupid war that they did not want fought in the first place. All for an unpopular country led by an even more unpopular, toxic criminal. They are over this. I am so tired of dancing around with words. I really am. I'm sick of it. This is not on you, ladies and gentlemen. America, it's not on you to keep Benjamin Netanyahu out of jail. That was on Benjamin Netanyahu. Maybe his wife shouldn't have required weekly shipments of expensive champagne every week. Maybe Benjamin Netanyahu shouldn't have required weekly shipments of expensive cigars every week. It's not on you to keep him out of jail. And nowhere in the Bible, evangelicucks, does it tell you it's your godly duty to do so. It's your godly duty to care about the suffering of your fellow neighbor. That's what you can go to the gates and talk about. I can't wait until never mind. I'm gonna let that alone. I think some people are gonna get a rude whoa. You're not opening the door? Nope. Not opening the door. I think you need to go back. Maybe they'll let you have a do-over. Maybe you'll get a shock and maybe you'll get 2 or 3 rounds of the defib and they'll give you a do-over after they give you the lowdown at the gate, which they won't open for you. Immigration and border security. Obviously that's his best mark in how long? And he's been negative on it for a while, but if we go and look, and actually I can get this for you. It's simple. I could just go to Big Data Poll and go to the last one. I want to give you a compare and contrast on where he was just last month on some of these issues. Because, guys, it was bad. Okay. Yeah, where are we going to be at? Yeah, this is all good. All good news. So let's just take all good news. All good news. Let me take a screenshot of it because it'll make it easier for them to see.
Yes. Well, people are like, I can't see it. I'm like, best thing to do in this scenario, let's take a screenshot.
I'll read it to them. Yeah, but I'm going to also take a screenshot of the chart from last month so they can compare and overlap it real quick. Just give me 2 seconds, guys. There we go. let it load and do its thing. In the meantime, I'll read it to you. 31% strongly approve the job he's doing on immigration, border security. 17.2% somewhat approve. So you're looking at about 48%. Not about. It'll be, well, after waiting. I'm saying about because of waiting, but it won't be terribly, terribly different. What you can really expect is that it's going to go up from like the low 40s to 47. See what it was last month? 44% approve, 52.2 disapprove. If we put this back on the board, whoop, there we go. Put it back on the board. Hello. There we go. Sorry, it's glitching a little bit. So that'll be 47.6. So it'll be, it's under 50. It's under, disapproval will be under 50. If we compare that to last month, disapproval, even on immigration, was still over 50 at 52.2%. So it'll modestly improve. I mean, you're not going to improve huge over time, but overall disapproval last month was 18%. And we're looking at an overall disapproval of maybe like -8 this time. Don't hold me to it. Maybe it's -9. All right. After waiting, we'll see. But you're looking at like a 10-point bump in his overall approval just because he ended the war. So you understand my frustration with like being slowed down. It reminds me of trying to course correct a giant ship like a tanker. And it takes so long for it to turn, right? Instead of just being able to whip that ship around. Our problem here, folks, is that we have a vast number of simpletons with a lot of money who make a lot of noise, and it doesn't prevent it, but it slows down the process of correction. And that's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. All right, so there it is. There you have it. I thought he was going on the way back. What? He's back already.
It's done. It is finished.
Even Patronos? What? Listen, there is a benefit. There, you are delegating, girl. There is a benefit to having an older, your eldest being able to be a little bit more independent. Yeah. And I got to be honest with you, I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't okay with it. Even when he first got his license, I was like, well, that's great. Still don't want you to drive. Like, you got to cut loose though eventually. How do you get better? How do you learn? You know what I mean? And you got to let go. I never was going to be a helicopter parent. Never. I have a completely different philosophy, which is prepare them, make them strong, and then you have to test that strength. How do you forge something into something stronger? Put it in the fire, baby. That's it. You got to put it in the fire. You got to let it do its thing. Kids have to learn. But it is nice. It is. He's also a responsible kid. Yes. Even foreign policy is going to be better. Let me just do some quick math. 24.2% strongly approve, 18.3%. So that's back into the low 40s as opposed to what? I mean, it was straight dog, you know what, last month. And then Iran even is improving. Yeah, foreign policy last month was 38% with 56% disapproving. This month it'll be in the 50s, but it'll be low 50s, not high 50s. Inflation, cost of living. This may be the one area where we're not going to get too much improvement. Let me do some quick math. Actually, we are. He's going to be in the 30s, mid to low 30s, where he was at 29 last month and 66.5% last month disapproved of the job that Donald Trump was doing on inflation. That's going to be low 60s, it looks like. But again, modest improvement, so as long as everything is heading in the right direction, that's a good thing. Even crime and safety. Looks like he's going to improve like 6-7 points overall on net. If you look at the one thing it doesn't look like he's going to improve on is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Maybe a little. 20. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he will. Actually, maybe by like 8 points. I'm trying to look at a spot where he won't. Look at this situation in Iran. Last month, it was 33.7% approved. It'll be like 38. So not great, not good, not even good, just headed in the right direction. And why? Because he ended it. if he holds the peace, because there are a lot of people who are saying it's very likely that Israel is going to do something to blow this peace deal up, and they don't expect the peace deal to last. And that is holding Trump back right now. And if you want Republicans to improve more, Trump's approval has to improve, because Trump is the only reason voters have to vote. Republican voters have to vote. Actually, let's know. Voters overall, I like that statement better. Trump is the only reason voters have to vote Republican. Republicans themselves give the voter no reason to support that, unless they're in the opposition, in the minority party. That's the only way Republicans have ever been decent at winning elections. And even that's limited to midterm cycles only. They couldn't do it under the banner of like Mitt Romney and, neoconservatism. They just couldn't do it. Again, let me see if I can get you some of the trust to handle. Here, we can look at this. Here's your top issues. This isn't going to change. It was this way for 8 days. It's not going to change. Cost of living by far. Number one, cost of living, inflation, jobs in the economy. Number two, healthcare. Number three, this is scaring me. I've been saying this for months, guys, because healthcare, Obamacare, is a cost of living issue when you break it down. Only it's one that's directly tied to life and death. It is a big deal. And Republicans have never performed well in a midterm when healthcare is within the top three, unless you go back to the 2010 election. And the reason why it doesn't matter anymore is because Republicans got the opportunity. They had run on healthcare for 7 years. And when they had the opportunity to finally make good on that campaign promise, they betrayed the voter and failed. And that was the single reason that Republicans lost the House in the 2018 midterms. And for those of you who think you're so smart and you think betrayals don't matter, and all he needs is gas to come below $3, and housing bill's going to make people want to vote Republican. Some of the tweets I read, man, you guys are special, man. And I don't mean that as a compliment. Okay.
Not in the good way.
The economy was rip-roaring, red hot, and on fire in November of 2018. And Republicans still got their asses kicked because you betrayed the voter on a 7-year campaign promise. This was a 10-year campaign promise not to start another stupid war in the Middle East. And for everyone who keeps bringing up, because I heard who do it today on his interview, for every person who keeps bringing up an interview from the 1980s with Oprah about when Donald Trump said Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, let me just kill this for you right now. If you think that Americans buy that stupid story and stupid claim, you are delusional. Nobody is going to sit there. No average voter is going to sit there and say, but you know what? I did see him once on Sean Hannity say that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I somehow ignored the 10 years of him making fun of George Bush for starting stupid wars and saying, Biden will send your jobs overseas and your children to die in the Middle East and your jobs to China. Hillary Clinton will send your kids to die in Iraq and your jobs to China. That's what they remember. And when he said things like Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, what everyone really thought is that he wasn't lying or bullshitting about being the top negotiator, the art of the deal, and he was somehow going to keep them from getting a nuclear weapon. I don't know, because he tweeted about it constantly. Obama's such a bad negotiator. I could do so much better, man. Iran's never going to get a nuclear weapon under me because I'm the super negotiator. It's a superpower. That's what they thought. You sound ridiculous. You sound stupid. And it's offensive to voters in the country when you say such stupid shit. Refrain from saying that stupid line. Just suck it up, sister soldier, admit you effed up, and move on. Don't insult their intelligence. Do not insult their intelligence. But he was on Oprah in 1984. And he said that, yeah, okay. Because the average millennial who voted for Donald Trump for the first time ever voting for a Republican was watching Oprah in 1984. I mean, man, dude, you are so stupid. Just stop. And again, if it was just stupidity, I could get a good chuckle out of it. We can all get a good laugh and be done with it. But it's offensive too. You're offending the voter by thinking that they're that stupid when in fact they were not. And here's the big kicker about all this, which so many people don't want to acknowledge. You all mistook the voters for being stupid. That's why when Operation Midnight Hammer came, you lied and said, oh, this is just going to be 3 strikes. All of the people who said it would be a regime change war, looks like they're panicking and they were all wrong. You were literally making fun of the majority of the country who knew that you were gaslighting them, who knew that this was not the end of the story. It was the opening act, who knew it was over for the domestic agenda. The truth is, they were smarter than you gave them credit for. And it's not their fault that they saw your bullshit from the beginning. So don't rag on them now because they never believed your lie. Again, sometimes you cut your losses, you say you're sorry, and you move on. And you say you're sorry in the best way that you know how, but that's what you do, and you move on. Because you got some improvement in this poll in this month. I know your own damn pollsters show the same thing because I've seen them. Miraculously, though, that guy and his poll, right, Laura? Miraculously, this poll has exactly the same margin I give the vice president. Unbelievable. The very next day. I'm like, can I see the crosstabs for that poll, please? Can I see the crosstabs? I don't want your stupid little 2-page memo with your gay little graphic on it. Give me the crosstabs, please. Give me something that proves that margin is real. And you didn't just copy it because that's what I gave to the vice president. Because I think that's what's happening. That's the truth. Sounds like you're jealous, Rich. How did he do in 2016? No. Why didn't Trump pay the bill again in 2016? Why were all those invoices left open? Because you were wrong. Because you gave the man polls showing he was going to lose to Hillary Clinton. Yeah, I'll take being right, thank you. Patrick, I'll take being right for 1,000.
Thank you.
I'll take being right for 0. That's the truth.
Wait, hold on.
I'll take being right.
We've
been taking right. Oh, she's so wrong.
Actually, negative.
I know.
We pay for things so you can have the information
That's
for free.
That's the craziest thing for people when they're like, "Oh, you get money for this." Dude, if you had any idea how much we've spent just so you literally, and I don't mean just regular college.
I'm talking about 4 years.
You saw that number. 4 years university Ivy League. That's how much. That's how much. Over the course of 10 years. Absolutely. No, that's it. That is it. I told you. Yeah, because, they would need, it's more than just tuition and room and board. Books.
Tuition, books.
Freaking meals. I mean, clothes.
I'm talking the whole.
Yeah. Comfortable. You get, for that kind of money, they probably could have got apartments off campus.
Oh, yes. Nice.
Forget about dorm. Forget about, I'm saying room and board. Legit. All right, it's already 7:21, so I guess unbelievably we got to go. I didn't even get a chance. Not got to go. We got to get to the comments. But I didn't even. What? She was about to flip out. You ain't going nowhere. You want dinner? Tough. You better read those comments. Like that's Laura. I really didn't get to any of the disclosure stuff. But all right.
Oh, the disclosure is so cool,
isn't it? And she doesn't like talking about this stuff. But honestly, because I know some of you guys don't either. But honestly, it's a very, very important topic, and she did help. I needed to bounce some stuff off, like we were fielding, like kind of field testing some stuff, which would lead to me saying, I don't think I wanted asked like this. I think I would prefer, and then we'd circle back and say, listen, how would you answer if it was presented like this? Or Do you think this makes more sense to you? Is this more clarifying? Anyway, it's the first time anyone's done a study like this. The entire point of the study was to determine in a series of steps, and I think this was a very good first step. We always have the 4 questions we ask every year, but we wanted to go into it with a little bit more detail to basically do a stress test on disclosure. How would society react if we had to decide how we were going to define disclosure, because you have all of these different alternative meanings out there. You know what I mean? And actually, let me just show them. Did I show them this? Did we get the close up of this? Cost of living, jobs, the economy, healthcare, Obamacare, crime, safety, immigration, border security, corruption, accountability, foreign policy, national security, election integrity, and reform. Now, number 8. Gun rights, gun control, environmental stuff. National debt and deficits has plummeted to 11, and abortion is still dead last. Nobody cares about abortion anymore. Nobody cares. Be the irony if Democrats romp in an election not about abortion. That's right. It's about basic needs not being met, and that takes precedent over everything. And it's interesting. Back to the disclosure stuff. It's basically the first attempt because there's no other public pollsters tried to do this. It's an attempt to see or to measure tolerance to disclosure. And again, we had to decide, because you could talk to Luis Elizondo and he'll give you a definition of what he thinks is disclosure. You could talk to David and he'll give you a totally different one. You could talk to the other David who just unalived himself, even though he had a video 24 hours before unaliving himself saying that I am not suicidal. And if I unalive myself, it's not real.
That's why
it wasn't me. Now David's gone. And he's, yeah, man, crazy. So anyway, we came upon what we think is a consensus definition of disclosure. Meaning, and just to give you guys an idea, I will go down to some of this. Hold on, I just don't want everyone to see everything real quick, so give me a second. Okay, where are you? Yeah, see, if I show it, Laura, if I show that part of it, it is going to show too much. So let me just read it, okay? Oh, by the way, the White House focus tracker improved. Is it great? No, but it improved. We now don't have 64% of the electorate saying this too focused on foreign policy. Is it a majority still? Of course. But it's like going back down to a reasonable level. All right. The first section is simple, and this is the 4 trackers we do every year. Given recent attention the subject has received in culture and government, we'd like to ask a few questions about unidentified flying objects, also known as UFOs, or what the U.S. government refers to as unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP. And then that's the 4 tracker question. Then we get to the impact of disclosure. We tell them this is obviously a hypothetical, and we're basically trying to get your opinions about and measure the hypothetical impacts on society and even human civilization from what has been referred to as disclosure. And if they don't know what it means, obviously, many of them probably don't. We have to tell them, which we defined as the official act of the U.S. government to end the secrecy surrounding the UFO UAP subject. And then said, regardless of what you personally believe about this topic, let's assume disclosure in this scenario. And then we came to what we think is the consensus, which is, of course, being told that intelligent life exists in the universe. But here's the kicker, and where it's like everybody was like, no, this has to be in there. And that it has been visiting planet Earth. Okay, so in other words, like, hey guys, aliens are real, and they're here, they're among us. The truth is out. Yeah, and then we got to some of the more controversial things within those questions, in those sections. One thing we asked, and this is right off the bat, because some people you may think will just never accept disclosure. Oh, by the way, those 4 tracker questions, you can tell people belief is rising and has risen considerably this year, probably because of that attention, and probably because I think a lot of people on the right trust Trump, and like he's over here doing these disclosures, these little slow disclosures, and I think it's gotten them to give it other another thought. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's judging. We haven't had a chance to cross tabulate everything, guys. So when we do, and typically it's not done. I still want some more responses, but we're basically done. Once we do that, we'll have a better idea. But even people who are saying that they personally witnessed something or know someone who has, that's even up. And then those who say that what people are seeing is likely intelligent life form from somewhere else is definitely more solid. And while the belief that the government knows more basically held on at the same level, which is weird to me, but I guess people just think the government's always lying, and so that never really changed.
Or they really just don't know as much as
they just don't know, and that's what it comes down to. A lot of people are just like, I don't know, which is why we wanted to dig a little bit deeper here with this other study to ask people, well, let's pretend you did know now. Let's pretend this is what they're saying. This is what I want to confront you with. How would you react? I want to know how you personally would react. And then I want to know how you think society will react. How do you think it will impact various elements and areas of society? And I'm trying not to give away too much here, but like that's what we did. And then to basically do a stress test. Everything from complete and total collapse of civil order, like people have always warned about, to minimal periods of disruption or long-term disruption. And then, by the way, after those minimal periods or minor periods or even long-term periods, what do you see the outcome being? Positive in this light, negative in that light? How do you think civilization could be transformed for the better, for the worse? And then ultimately at the end of it, do you think human beings are ready for this? Like, if this was the case, do you think that humans could take this? And that's another part I didn't tell. Can you reconcile these things with your beliefs? First of all, do you agree with them or not already? And then can you reconcile, if you were told this is the case, could you reconcile that with your personal beliefs? Do you think that the confirmation that there is alien life, it's been visiting humans, does the existence of them disprove the existence of God? I'm telling you guys, it's a really cool study. And I mean, even Laura doesn't like talking about this shit really. And stuff. She doesn't like talking about this stuff, but it was fascinating. And the results.
Like information and data.
Yeah.
I find it
but some of the stuff is concerning to you. That's a fair statement.
No matter what, this information is going to be released. I want to know how to properly prepare the impact of it.
Yeah.
And that's why this information is important.
Especially since we're not entirely clear on what
it is.
Some of these things. Yeah. Which we tested all these various scenarios because there are different factions in the government who think different things. And like that, who wins out on this argument is going to have a huge impact themselves on how this story is going to be told.
Well, it's going to alter, no matter what. It's going to alter the world as we know it. Because now there's something outside of Earth. So it's not like...
Yeah.
I mean, do I think we're going to have a mea culpa kumbaya and the world is going to unify because there's something out there? No.
Were you surprised that so few people are afraid? Or take them as like... Or are afraid of what they could do. So if they are real, which of course...
I think cinema has desensitized
it's a good way of putting it.
Over, what, 30 years?
So she's saying, well, Close Encounters. So the fourth kind, the third kind. What the hell is it? Yeah. I mean, Steven Spielberg hit us with the Richard Dreyfuss movie decades and decades and decades ago.
That's what I'm saying. So like over a 30-year time span.
More.
Oh yeah.
50.
More 50 years.
Yeah.
When did whatchamacallit have that meeting with the president? It was Spielberg, right?
That was Richard Nixon. Spielberg and Nixon. Yeah.
Since
that was like 72, right? I think I'd have to look it up, but it was it was Nixon, and that's when Nixon gave him the film.
And I think from that moment on,
that's been a concerted effort to get us to like open our minds to certain things. Now there are certain things I will tell you guys that like that certain people believe, you've probably heard about them, they're common, that people are not going to be okay with. And it's like, not that they're not going to be okay with it, they probably won't believe it. Like they just, okay. And I mean, some of the out there stuff. We're not, I don't think totally, if that was even true. And we're all doing this assuming like, say it's a speculation and assuming it is true. Would you be able to accept this? Is basically how what we said. And with some of the things which you'll hear about when Trump's new executive order comes out, because that executive order is important. It basically gives legacy program scientists, and if you guys don't know what that is, you're going to find out, the ability to get around their, it's not an NDA. I mean, some of these people are underneath the Department of Energy, and that's like punishable by death, right? So you can get around your, you're not going to violate your clear, you know, your, you're not going to get charged with the Espionage Act. You're not going to get, you know, and this is a big deal because it'll also say if you have knowledge of or in your possession have biologics or physical evidence, which by the way, we get into too. Like what would that mean for them kind of thing. And I'll tell them this one. I'll give them this one. So the first one, guys, is first of all, how many people would never accept it at all? Right? How many people just doesn't matter. So you have these scenarios, and these are the scenarios being kicked around. The president goes to the microphone and he says something like, my fellow Americans, yes, I am here to confirm that we are not alone in the universe, and these things have been visiting planet Earth probably for a very long time. How many people would even just say, nope, brain broken, I don't want to deal with it? It's remarkably small. I am legitimately shocked on how many people will say, I will never accept this. And what's interesting, shocker, go by, burn it down, it's age signal. It's age signal. So that number is going to continue to drop, and quickly, because of the age groups that make up that percentage are so at the end of their life cycle. Okay. I mean, I'm trying to be nice and delicate about this.
Radio had asked, like, and what would it change exactly?
Exactly. Bear with us, radio. That's a great question, and that's exactly what we asked. Now, I will say this: Trump is a controversial guy. So, what would it take for you to accept it or believe disclosure? President comes out and in that scenario, and he gives that confirmation, he'll get a bunch of people immediately, but he still is Donald Trump. And I think there's going to be people on the left, which that's what it looks like, who will just never believe something Donald Trump says. So Donald Trump would need something extra, which I think is the point of this executive order, Laura. I really do. I mean, I really do. We even asked people, okay, well, what if he came out, he did that, and he came out with physical evidence, or he provided at some point in the future physical evidence of like recovered alien technology in some form or another? That gets basically everybody. Like that's it. It's unbelievable how many people in survey research, guys. It's very hard to get to like 95%. There's almost nothing that gets universal agreement, which is why I told you when they were putting out that like 100% of MAGA BS, 98% of MAGA BS, it was BS. Everyone who does this for a living understands you're never getting 98 or 100% of a certain subgroup. It's never happening. To get this level was shocking to me. Now, there's a group that would say, listen, I'll take the president's word for it, but I keep hearing about biologics. I'm not going to be totally convinced unless I see biologics. They're talking about alien remains. I mean, that's what David is talking about when he gave his testimony. And that's what Anna Paula Luna is talking about, by the way. And Tim Burchett and Lauren Boebert and several Democrats. So We'll see. But it still was remarkable to me how many people immediately did tell us that they would accept it if the president said it, and especially if he provided something else, which the reason why I wanted to do that is because that is kind of the point. There's been a group who's been promising members of Congress more, but they can't deliver that unless they have legal protections. And whether or not you ultimately find it persuasive, I guess we'll see when they deliver that. But that's the point of Donald Trump's executive order. That's why there's so many people who are so excited about this. And then, interestingly, we did something that's basically in the form of sentiment scores. Very positive to very negative with neutral. And so how do you think this would impact each area of society? And Radiohead, stay tuned. I just don't want to give away too much, but between that and how positive people think how much of a positive change this would have on society and civilization kind of stunned me. Not kind of, it stunned me. Even my son was watching it roll in because sometimes my kids get interested in what it's something I'm doing. And I'm like going over the results and he's like, that's like everybody, and he's like looking over my shoulder and I was stunned. And it was interesting because him and I both, our own personal takes may not have aligned with the overall, but it's stunning how many people. Yeah, I guess what I'm going to say here, I'm going to make this claim and then I'm going to answer some questions. If this was true, and that was the definition of disclosure, based on what we found, I think it's very clear that the warnings of mass chaos and breakdown in society because humans are not ready for this are outdated if they ever were valid to begin with. Americans are absolutely ready for this. They can handle this, is what I'm saying. All right. And I'll leave it at that and you'll see what I mean when we put it out. All right. Let's start with one on locals here. Oh, that's going like crazy. Yeah, Ryan. We are eating our own here in Minnesota a month after a debacle of an endorsement convention riddled with election fraud, or at least perception of fraud. You have any white pills for us here? Well, I think you're my great white whale. And I think that I think that white pill moment, it's tough, but you did see the fraud task force, for instance, right? And the rulings in the Supreme Court. If done correctly, if the message is, first of all, harnessed and then sold correctly, I think that state could be one of the few bright spots, even in an overwhelmingly negative election for Republicans, because you have a story to tell. And I think that it's almost certain because I do know of an event. I was invited to it. I mean, you guys will probably see it soon, but I do think one of your elections is basically over. You just haven't, one of your primaries is over. You just don't know it yet. And it's something new and fresh. And I know, like, again, conventional wisdom is going to be like, oh my God, no way. But you need to get away from conventional wisdom in that state if you want to have a chance, because otherwise the Democratic lean of the state is just going to keep running over you. And you have to do something different, and you're going to get it this time. So I think that's that's pretty neat. Which, speaking still of Minnesota, hey Rich, when do you go to DC? Don't forget to tell Vance to run hippies on APAC Amy to get her to drop, so you can have your own populist uniparty in Minnesota to fight against the Epstein class uniparty. LOL. Being serious though, we should fight against the deep state and Epstein class, not each other. We'll argue later, but nothing changes if the Epstein class is in charge. A Cenk Unger and MTG coalition is a great example. Honestly, Posh, I think that's the direction this is headed. I think eventually we'll figure out that the current two-party dynamic is not going to suffice. It's just not. And there are too many people who are going to wind up splitting off of the right. I just don't think we're there until probably until the presidential cycle, because that tends to be the catalyst behind big realignments. And I think you are going to start to see something like that rise from the ashes of the Democratic establishment and the Republican rhino, whatever you want to call it. I think the Republican Party's end is, as it is today, as it exists today, is probably at hand. It's always tough to tell, but the false sense of security that two parties have in this country is not at all based in reality. It's just not. I mean, so I'm telling you, I've said this before. Someone like Elon could get frustrated with it right now, and with the amount of money that he has, I could force it. I could force it easily. I could tell him how to force it, and we'd have that realignment within 2 years. I could break it all. It's not hard. I'm just you understand why I'm not going to go and blurt out how to do that right now, because I'm really at a point where I'm tired of everyone pretending that they're cheap copies of my ideas is their genius, and I'm sick of it. Oh, Rocket Boy with the Mark Mitchell Ransom Fund. How much Team Trump wished they had listened to Rich and Mark about the change in the electorate? Did New York wake them up, Rich? To some degree, Rocket Boy, and thank you as always for the support. I'll make sure Mark gets the support too. But you know what I'm saying? Like they immediately go and blame the wrong people and draw the wrong conclusions. And I love that Trump is like, time to go to bat against communism or time to go to the plate, I get that. But it's like that ship has sailed already, and we're not going to have the right counter reaction if you think the play is, that like Muslims are coming for us all because of Zohran Mamdani and his candidates winning. One of Zohran Mamdani's candidates was Jewish. He just wasn't an AIPAC bitch. He wasn't one of AIPAC's bitches. So that's what Republicans don't want to accept at this point. And again, I love Elise Stefanik, but she's a great example. I didn't mean to pick on her on Twitter the other day, but she is a great example of what I was hearing from elected Republicans and other Republican consultants. I'm like, oh, this is it. Here we go. And I'm like, guys, I've been showing you how radical Democratic Party has been getting for years now. This is not the sum total of the lesson here. The DSA is winning because the DSA is talking about the issues that you used to talk about with MAGA, but then you chose to ignore. So you're forcing the voter to go choose the left-wing version of what you were selling them, and you failed to deliver to them. At least you should get that. I feel like, too, there's a big problem, and it's like only within a certain group. There's a big problem with some people not being able to separate their identity from their politics. You understand what I'm saying? Like, there's just no Italians running around, trying to, unable to separate their identity from their politics. And I think it's unfair not to point that out because of years and years of Republicans lecturing Black people about how they need to learn to separate their identity from their politics. Like, oh, you keep voting Democrat, you're not getting anywhere. Stop being, on the Democratic plantation. Stop being a slave to the Democratic Party. For years, that was the pitch. But yet, we're not allowed to point out the obvious. Why does she feel the way she feels? Why does she and others have such a hard time overlooking, or not even overlooking, looking past, being able to see? Again, missing the forest through the trees is the expression. You see anti-Semitism in the Fourth Reich is coming over the horizon when you look at one Jewish candidate beating another. It's crazy. It's a supremacist view, guys. I don't know how else to say this. It's an ethnocentric worldview. It's about the issues, not about the identity. And that is the lesson, Rocket Boy, that they are just, so they're halfway there and they're getting it. And believe me, behind closed doors, this is what pisses me off so much. behind closed doors, there are very frank conversations. And somehow all of these little boundaries and rules go out the window. The boundaries are only imposed on you speaking in public space. That is not productive. We're all allowed to acknowledge the obvious behind closed doors and on private phone calls, but we're not allowed to say it on our podcast or on Twitter or write it in an op-ed, lest you be called anti-Semitic. It's BS, man. It's BS. And frankly, the right should be ashamed of themselves over this, because this victimhood bullshit, I never want to hear the right say that the left weaponizes victimology ever again. I never want to hear it. Not because it's not true, but because you are hypocrites. And I don't like hypocrisy. Didn't have an argument, so you busted out the isms. I'm reading this out loud, trying to take it. Oh my God, Hightower. Whoa. Yeah, Richie has to be punished for this. And honestly, guys, I mean, listen, I'm not saying that if they ride the peace deal to its finale, that they will win. I'm simply saying that at least they have a chance to mitigate some of the damage. But as of right now, they are going to be punished for this. Did I show you that? Did I show you where the raw is on the generic ballot? It was one day this week where it was D+7. It's been what it is today most days. I think maybe one other day was like D+9. And it's like you could see that the voters want to not punish him. They want to come back. They want to. There's even some people a lot of people in the middle who don't want to vote Democrat, but they just simply can't trust Republicans anymore. They feel like they can't trust the administration. So they want, they're living by Ronald Reagan's doctrine, trust but verify. That's what they're doing, Let the Democrats ride him. I feel so bad for MTG. He screwed over his ride or die chick. Yeah, I don't agree with everything MTG says, but I don't know how you can't understand how she feels. I think you're being dishonest if you can't. If you say you can't. Anyway, she was a MAGA hero not long ago. The only thing that changed is that she wouldn't back down on the Epstein petition. That's it. It's the only thing that changed. And then, yes, she went on a tour with The View and everything. Guess what? Vance just went on The View too. So what's your fucking point? Donald Trump won the 2016 nomination going on Morning Joe. What's your point? Sad ass. And the money, man. The money. So much of the attacks against MTG and others, guys, you little memes and this and that. Like, what do you think? There's money in this? These people are getting paid through PACs. It's borderline dirty. It's probably borderline illegal, but it should be. It's really not the way it's done. But none of this is real. You think there's money in independent media? You think these people have these like super expensive studios because like they're successful? It's bullshit. It's all dirty money, man. The attacks on people like MTG. The idea Tucker takes money from Tucker Carlson. That's all fake. He's never taken a dime from Qatar. He's rich. He doesn't even need to. But it's money. And most of it is foreign money getting pumped into our system. And it is tragic. It is tragic what happened to MTG. What has Trump done to earn my trust after this fiasco? Also, him saying we can't bomb Iran after the midterms and also support the rhinos after that. Well, we can bomb Iran after the midterms and support. Here's the problem, Stephen. Like, this is no longer an option for him because it would have been, and I've said this privately many times, you could have waited until after the midterms, and I don't think anyone would have cared. If you would have went hardcore on the domestic and then won the midterms or did better than expected, but then this would have worked out for you. But instead you fucked up. So now you go to start another war after the midterms. It'll go worse for you. Your legacy will go it will end in a worse direction because people will say you lied to them. You sold them bullshit to get elected. You did it again to not get killed in the midterms. And then you're definitely taking JD down with you. Like, that's it. So You know, that comment to me too, not good, not smart, and it's not even true. Without an imminent threat, Donald Trump can never he can never order another launch again, another strike again against anybody in the Middle East. Forget about Iran. It's just over. It's over. Not to mention, I told you guys because I knew. Now the report's out. Those bases aren't being rebuilt. Our friends, Pete, over at the War Department, our friend Pete, and I'm sure Sean's not much he can do about it too, but God love you, Sean, but you guys fucking lying over there. Those bases aren't being rebuilt. You didn't defend them. That was a shit show. We're out. You single-handedly have kicked us out of the Middle East. We're out. Iran's the major player now. That's why Mark Levin is crying like a bitch on X right now. Look at the GCC sucking up to Iran because we punked out. No, you stupid, fat, old, bald idiot. This was always going to be the end result. Always. You kicked us out of the Middle East. You did. Those bases aren't going to, the Pentagon's going to spend that money to rebuild the bases. They can't, everyone knows we can't defend now. The jig's up, man. The jig is up. The grift is over. And it was a grift, but it was a grift that worked and kept the damn region stable. By the way, that same grift kept Asia stable. So much for that. It's over now. It's all over, guys. I mean, look, like I told you, you know, there's messaging and one thing and what I think the president should say. And then there's, you know, me shooting straight with you because we're on our show here. And that is the truth. I mean, it's over. Holy effing cow, Rich. I was having withdrawals. Glad you're back. Thought I'd have to try heroin. It'd be easier to find. Oh, jeez, I'm sorry. Listen, and I have a lot of traveling all the way through the month of August, but we're going to make it work. We are. I'm going to be in D.C. for the 4th and doing Virginia Beach the next week. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be a lot, but I'll make it work. And I'm popping. You know, I don't know. There's going to be like road rages on foot or something. We'll figure it out. Didn't kill any TVs while you were gone, though. Why did I get into politics? I must have holes in my head. I know. And this is why I ended up doing what I'm doing, you know, because I never, what am I going to do? Just wind up throwing shoes at the TV? Like, I love politics. I always feel like it's, first of all, an obligation. You have to be paying attention. It's your obligation to pay attention to events and politics. And you really have nothing to complain about if you don't. But it's your civic duty, right? But I'd be throwing stuff at the wall, you know, I really would. So this is why I just do it anyway. It doesn't hurt to dip your toes on both sides for Minnesota because either way you win. And if either candidate, me or Lindell wins the primary. Also, if your candidate wins the primary and I lose, I do an RFK Jr. 2024 and join your candidate side. Anything is better than the Israel AIPAC back candidate at this point. That's true. It's totally true. Absolutely. Friday night lashes, get them rich. I was trying to be a little bit nice. I just, again, I really just, I'm totally out of patience. I don't know if you guys have caught on to this. I'm totally out of patience with these people. I just can't take it anymore. They're killing us, guys. They're killing us. We don't have time to do this again. Let me grab one from Rumble. We just can't have time to have this debate. It's not a debate. They were wrong. I was right. It's over now. Move on. They're dying. We're growing. This is not hard. What are we doing? You want to go and vote for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or Gavin Newsom in 2024, 2028, Mark Levin? Go do you. We're not going back. It's not happening. You're going to upend our entire civic order at this point. People have needs. They're not privileged little rich kids like you schmuck. Don't you get it? Kid Cat, Alex B was insufferable on Tucker. I'm sorry. How many times did he say, how many times did he try to sell you, but we achieved our goal by killing the nuclear weapon program? And how many times did Tucker say, Alex, you keep saying that, but you also said last year we killed the nuclear weapon program? Like, bro, your lie doesn't work. This is what I'm talking about when I say you're insulting people. I mean, it doesn't, right? When you have this other part of your coalition, which you're somehow trying to placate still, even though you're supposedly attacking them, you're still placating them. They're openly admitting now they wanted boots on the ground. They wanted to go get the uranium, kill everybody in the regime, destabilize the state, committed genocide, because that's what they are, homicidal, genocidal maniacs. Ethno-religious, genocidal, maniac supremacists. Dude, it's not going to work. It didn't work. It's not working. That's why your poll numbers suck. Enough. Repeat after me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Now I will get back to taking care of the needs of the voters who elected me. That's it. How about they find out this $158 billion of tax advice was for Leon? Oh my God. Blackowitz by Epstein. Sorry, 158 million. Yeah, it is. He corrected. But geez, I was infuriated listening to both sides. Shit about MTG dropping bombs in countries is somehow not war. We know a tranny lover shot Charlie, etc. We know nothing. You know, I get it, man. I get it. I got like 8 messages from people like, bro. I know. Leon Black and Paulo funded Epstein's life. Nothing has happened to him. Trump made his son CEO of the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation. His Apollo co-founder is the Gaza Peace Board. It's on the Gaza Peace Board. I know. It's like as if like there wasn't a real incentive to eradicate the population of Gaza and rebuild it into their image. I mean, these are things that like people aren't dumb. They're not going to not see. To go on and pretend like this can't. They were about the nuclear weapon program. Dude. Wow. Remember when I told you about the fight with my boomer boyfriend over your polling? He told me last night ending war was bad and Cornyn was a better pick. Oh, Lord. He's unsavable. Voted for Trump 99%. Didn't believe me when I said Trump approval sucked. He was losing because Trump saving us from Iran and nukes. Can you believe it? I can. That is Boomerville delusion. I hear it every day. And it's like, again, it's like at some point we have to recognize it's not a debate over opinions. Like one of us is right and the other's delusional. We can either continue to entertain the delusion and get destroyed, or we can not and live in reality. I'm not the one who changed in 18 months from understanding that the real threat to the survival of this country is here within the United States, not thousands and thousands of miles away in a regime that doesn't even have the ability to hit us with an intercontinental ballistic missile. This is crazy. And even if they did, they would never do it, because if they ever sent a nuke into Chicago, like Mark Levin claimed falsely they could do to his fake Fox News audience that they bought through Twitter followers, fake bots, like Murdoch Inc., which, by the way, is now an entire news story, how Murdoch Inc. used Fox, the Wall Street Journal, and the New York Post to help dupe Donald Trump for Israel into the war. Like, it's a headline right now. Look it up. Even if they could do that, if they ever did, they wouldn't exist 30 minutes later. But no nation is doing that unless their very survival is a threat. And that's not, and I don't mean it like with the hyperbolic, the rhetoric we always hear. Kim Jong-un was crazy too, right? Well, he's got nukes and intercontinental ballistic missiles. How is it that Kim Jong-un has yet to send one to Los Angeles like Mark Levin claimed he would like 12 years ago? Because that's nonsense talk. Nonsense talk. And by the way, even Reagan believed in MAD. He wanted a reduction in the amount of nuclear weapons in the world, but he believed in mutual assured destruction. USA Now with the memes again. Can't drain the swamp if you're the plug. Oh, God. Where's my other one here, honey? What did I do with it? Oh, there it is.
Maybe it's a sign you should quit.
Maybe it's a sign you should quit. I keep hearing this. You're probably right, but it is what it is. The only thing I need from Trump regarding aliens is their mass removal from And barrier to the re-entry of our nation. I'm more worried about the aliens with names that sound like they're from another world, but are from another people and nation. Owen, man. And I get it. And Owen, mark my words, we lost birthright citizenship. Telling you right now. They're not going to give us all that and then give us birthright citizenship. We're going to see compromises all over town, by the way. If they're real, hope they're of the Cocoon brand, healing people and making them younger. I'm not scared. If they've been here all this time, they haven't been the ones killing us and unleashing terrorist attacks. They are 100% human cause. Bring them on.
I don't know.
Honestly, no, I'm absolutely with her on this. I am. They could have we're a threat to ourselves. That's it. And even if they did do something to us at some point, it's because they've been watching us act like animals this entire time. It's because they've been intercepting transmission of Mark Levin, and they've been listening to people like Mark Levin, and they're like, this species is irredeemable. I'm not kidding, guys. If we get attacked by the aliens who are apparently living in our oceans, according to congressmen and congresswomen, it'll be because they intercepted one too many transmissions from Mark Levin. And then they took a look at his Twitter feed and they said, wait a minute. The most powerful leader in the world listened to this imbecile? This species can't be helped. And they can't have the power of the atom. Wrap it up. Facilitate Elon forcing it. Stay tuned. Because at this point, because I'm looking at your next tip, by the way, and the J doesn't stand for Jonathan. John. I mean, I don't know what. I do think that's probably the best option moving forward. I know Steve Tucker was like, I can't support Republicans. Everyone went nuts. As if Tucker isn't saying something that, of course, a huge chunk of the country is saying right now. If you think Ross Perot was a problem, Tucker would obliterate the Republican Party. If he ran for president, he would, which I don't think he really is thinking about doing, but he would, if like him and Joe Kent ran, they would obliterate the Republican Party. It would be over. They would be forced to realize that they're just not popular anymore, and neither one of them is going to win an election. Democrats are going to win with 45% every time, and that's it. Could have told you about the bases. A few of my buddies got back from Camp Buring, and it is completely demolished. Both Kuwait Army camps are not getting repaired. Yep. I said that about a month ago, bro, and got called a liar. I feel I'm detecting a shift from both Vance and Trump. Vance is actually taking some manner of control, and Trump is attacking Israel. But Andrew, let me just point it out. Like, words are one thing, actions are another. Like, there should have been punishment for what they did in Lebanon. They aren't getting attacked by Hezbollah terrorists. They are occupying a sovereign nation who wants them out. And by the way, what religion is the head of state in Lebanon? Anybody? Bueller? Because it seems like to me the biggest threat to Christianity in the Middle East is the state of Israel. Oh my God. Well, excuse me. Who toppled the Syrian regime? Who did that and installed an Al-Qaeda figure? Who now, as it turns out, was funding Hezbollah? Not Iran. Who was doing it? This is ass, people. This is ass. This is not cool. You need to watch the BB Files if you can get a hold of it. No, this is true. This sounds exactly like Andrew's totally right. Are you ready? This is what they want you to think. We go back to, I can't say that, the Bush mush, Israel first, in a blink of an eye. Kill all the brown people. To hell with your problems. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Socialism is bad. Oosh MAGA. It's totally right. Are you ever going to break up monopolies or help small businesses? Right. This is a game. They're playing you. And I don't want the Islamification of my country either, but that's not the threat here right now, is it? And this is somebody who lived in the tri-state area by Ground Zero before 9/11. Okay? My wife, who's sitting right over there, lost her cousin in Tower 2. It has to be the path forward before the authoritarians get the moral pass to be savages and tyrannical. Right. Right. I think that's the end of it. It indeed is. Oh my God, it's time for that's it. Yeah, it's time for food at a reasonable hour. Holy crap, I did it. Wow, I actually got through it. All right, guys, I am going to be popping on. Let me just peek real quick so I can see if I can't give you guys a time estimate. I'm hoping to wrap up tonight. I really think it's probably going to wrap up tonight. We'll get the political stuff out first, then we'll do the disclosure stuff. Okay. See, it's going to be a big sample, and I'm going to have to weight it down. We oversampled a lot of smaller demographic groups on purpose. And so what does that mean? It means more time to process it, but still is what it is. You know, it's got to do it right or don't do it at all. You know what I mean? All right. So I'm going to get out the political stuff. I would like to say I want to wrap this up tonight. So the poll's out tomorrow. If not, maybe I'll save it for a Sunday release with the Sunday shows. But then either way, we'll talk about it. And then, you know, I have to go. So I have to get the disclosure study out before that. All right. So, yeah, with that in mind, I'm going to kick rocks. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday night. Thanks for the support and everything else. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them and to share them far and wide. The best place to follow me is on Locals. It's right here, peoplespundit.locals.com, peoplespundit.locals.com. Sign up, become a supporter. But of course, we're everywhere at peoples_pundit on X and on Instagram, and at People's Pundit with no underscore on Truth and on Getter. All right. So with that, I'm going to leave you to your rest of your Friday. Actually, no, I'm not. I lied. Don't forget to pre-order Burn It Down. The link is in the description. There. Now I'm going to leave you to the rest of your Friday. Thanks for watching, guys. Nothing but love for you as always. Thanks for your support. I'll see you guys soon. Deuces. Oh, the little man said deuces. He's good at it. One day I let him take it away, and he was like, don't forget to like and subscribe. It was so cute. He did it good. Don't forget to subscribe to the People's Pundit.